What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, we've got the second and possibly final trailer for Jurassic World Dominion that just came out. And to say that it was bigger and crazier than the first is an understatement because they actually tease a lot in this thing, and not just the trailer itself, but the thumbnail. We've seen this image before, but they've got the Giga fighting the T-Rex, which actually isn't in the trailer. I thought that was kind of interesting. All in all, and I am just jumping right into it, I'm very impressed with what they've been putting out for this movie because it seems like they did learn their lesson with Fallen Kingdom and not spoiling the entire film in the trailers. You know, that movie had pretty much every plot beat and detail telegraphed in the commercialization for the film before anybody even saw it. And if you were like me, going over everything, you knew exactly what was about to happen before it had even come up. But with Jurassic World Dominion, they're keeping things pretty close to their chest and just showing us like a few action set pieces, some dinosaur attack scenes, and the idea of all of these cast members interacting with each other, which is really cool. Now, trailer 2 starts off with an amber Universal logo before we cut to Owen Grady working at his cabin, which this is beautiful imagery, by the way. Colin Trevorrow really has stepped it up from the first Jurassic World and other things because you've just got like this much better looking shot composition and environment to really play with. Maisie is here, they're chopping wood, and then we get this little reveal that Blue and Beta are also hanging out around where Owen's built his cabin. We already knew that from the first trailer. They talk about how it's kind of impossible for Blue to have an offspring, but I'm sure that's going to be something in the plot. Personally, and I said this when the first trailer rolled around, I think it has something to do with parthenogenesis, which is real. It does happen in real life, just like the last Jurassic World movie where they worked in xenotransfusions, which if you didn't know, that whole blood transfusion scene between a T-Rex and a Velociraptor, it's not that far-fetched. Veterinarians do that kind of stuff all the time with different animal breeds, and truthfully, paleontologically speaking, it probably should have been the Gallimimus, but that was a lot of blood. Maybe they would have killed it. Either way, I do like that they're integrating that it's real science fiction. I mean, it's not exactly 100% realistic, but I do like that they're entertaining those ideas, and I think that this movie could be the same way with Blue's offspring. Now, we see that Beta gets captured after being lured in with a fox. Kind of reminds me of that scene in Return of the Jedi where Chewbacca got trapped, but whatever. They've also got this pretty cool scene where Owen Grady kind of witnesses them taking the Velociraptor, and it leads into something really interesting. So right here, Blue is pretty upset that her offspring's been taken, and Owen is trying to reason with a dinosaur, and it doesn't exactly go so very well. He gets bit by Blue, which I think is pretty cool. It's a good way to not defang the raptors after you've had them interacting with human beings. One thing I always disliked about the Predator movies is that once they started teaming up with humans, it kind of made them just less interesting and really confusing of a species, in my opinion. The raptors, even in Jurassic World, where a lot of people like to say that they're harmless, they rip people to shreds. It's more of like they're just animals, which is much more believable than just the Predator thing. I like that it bites Owen. That's actually a pretty cool thing they've integrated here. Now, I don't think she's going to jump on him and kill him, but I do like the fact that he does not have complete control over an animal. After that, we've got this really cool reveal of a Quetzalcoatlus making a nest on top of a gigantic building. This is just beautiful imagery again. Colin Trevorrow's outdone himself. It looks like this movie is a combination of all the previous Jurassic Park locales times 10 with more city stuff and exotic environments. We've got the scene where Ellie Sattler is arriving on scene. We've got the Mosasaurus attacking the cage. Dr. Wu talks about something being a terrible mistake to Maisie, so he's probably going to be in a much more sympathetic light than the other films are. He's never a legitimate, true villain. I always thought he was just very misguided. He's more ambition-driven than really moral grandstanding, but here it looks like something is about to change. I also like the fact that we've got just all of these scenes with dinosaurs interacting in the modern world. These ankylosaurs here. I don't know what exactly happens with these Gallimimus, but a lot of us have been seeing the part where the Pseudoceratops hits the souped up Jeep thing. There's also a Sinoceratops there, and I'm pretty sure there's Trikes in the background too. So maybe they were housing all of these dinosaurs in a similar location because they're kind of adjacent species and they all get out and it's not going to look too good for the people. But we've got that stuff going on with Ian Malcolm, Ellie Sattler, and Dr. Grant talking about a doomsday clock about to be out. Mamadou Athie is also with them in the background. I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about here, but it probably has something to do with, you know, obviously the dinosaurs all over the place. Then we've got this beautiful reveal of the Demon Carnotaurus, which is coming out with the Allosaurus that we saw earlier. Owen is doing what Owen does best. And then we've got something really cool. So the reveal of the Atrociraptors. And it doesn't look like these guys are in control because they've got their guns drawn. The Atrociraptors are going to be really interesting to see how they handle them. Personally, I think it would have been cooler if they were the Velociraptors that we saw in earlier Jurassic Park movies, because they're the same size, or I mean, they might be a little bit bigger or smaller, but they do look really, really similar. You can tell that they've given them the same color patterns as the ones from The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. But yeah, this is a pretty cool scene where they're unleashed, so to speak. I don't know if they're about to kill these guys, but they do have their guns drawn like something crazy is about to happen. And it's always cool to see raptors being intimidating, like they're going to tear someone apart. After that, we've got this cool chase. We've seen this in other trailers before. It's just more shots of the Atrociraptors and Claire fighting back, and it looks like a really entertaining scene, probably evoking something of the Venice chase from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which Colin has been on record to say that he is a big Amblin guy, and you can see that more Indiana Jones influence in the Jurassic World side of the franchise. But then you've got this great extended part where this dude gets yeeted off of a scooter and killed by an Allosaurus. I thought that was a pretty cool moment. It's another holy shit thing. Now, then we've got this beautiful imagery of all of the dinosaurs around some sort of burning environment, almost like the Cretaceous era extinction. This also reminds me of the end of the Jurassic Park novel, which was the death of Isla Nublar. I mean, I know that happened in the last movie, but look at these animals here. I think we've got Dreadnoughtus or Apatosaurs. We've got a lot of different species in the water, Triceratops, Brachiosaurs, and everything's just burning around them. That is really cool Jurassic Park imagery that we haven't gotten too much of. Even in the last movie, they just kind of went over the edge of a cliff. This looks really insane and intense, which leads to Mamadou Athie and Claire Dearing, Ellie, everyone else kind of standing around and talking about how they're going to deal with this whole situation. I do love the fact that Ian Malcolm is in a position where he is more of like an expert than we've really seen him in for the last few movies. Even in Jurassic Park 3, he doesn't even show up, so it's cool to have him here. He is proper serious, kind of more like Lost Worldy Malcolm in my opinion. And from there, we've got like another gorgeous shot of this vehicle going over a bunch of snow. This Jurassic Park movie is so different from anything they've made. It's pretty cool, man. It looks like we're going like hardcore serious and interesting when it comes to the plot. I'm sure there's humor in there too, as there is in this trailer. Pretty good humor too. It's got Ian Malcolm kind of joking with Chris Pratt about the fact that he made a promise to a dinosaur, and I do love the imagery of Owen having a baby raptor like strapped to his back while he's holding a gun. It's just insane Jurassic World awesomeness in my opinion. Now Malcolm actually tries to like get the Giganotosaurus's attention with like a fire at the end of a stick or something right here. I wonder if they're gonna kill him off like he died in the book. I kind of hope they don't, because I want to see more of him. But if they were ever gonna get rid of one of these characters, it would probably be him. Although Colin Trevorrow, look dude, he's pretty much showing Lucasfilm and Star Wars how to properly end a franchise, I think. So he's probably not gonna do that. Anyways, we've got other stuff we've seen in the other trailers before. We've got DeWanda Wise telling us to brace for impact for this Quetzalcoatlus, and then another reveal of the Pyroraptor diving into water and swimming. I don't really know what to think about that. I'll have to ask some paleontology friends whether or not that's something that could happen. Of course, it's a clone. It's not a real animal from the Cretaceous or Jurassic, but it does look very interesting. It's almost like swimming like any other bird would. So it is pretty interesting that it would do so. Although this is like a freezing environment, so it's probably not the smartest idea for this dinosaur to do. Either way, it does make for incredibly original and interesting imagery. Then of course we've got stuff like this just giant cast reveal, and we've even got Dr. Henry Wu here with some sort of device or equipment that he's holding on to with all the other cast around him. So it looks like he is not like a complete villain type role in this film. We've got Alan Grant saying the Giganotosaurus is the biggest carnivore to ever walk the earth, which is a similar like thing that went down in Jurassic Park 3 where they talked about the Spinosaurus, so that's a pretty cool illusion. And then we've got this scene where the Giga just straight up attacks a high-rise, like a laboratory sort of situation. It looks pretty intense, like it's grabbing at people. I don't know if it's gonna maybe it would kill Dr. Wu, because we know that he does have some sort of, his death in the book needs to be fulfilled. I would have thought that raptors would have done him in, but we're gonna have to see what exactly goes down here. All of it's played pretty straight, pretty intense. Actually reminds me a lot of Dino Crisis, and they even work in some good Chris Pratt humor when the Giga comes in for one final attack, and it is just like Dino Crisis, where the T-Rex kind of like pushes its head into the window after Regina's just found a guy that works for the company. All of this is pretty cool, man. I'm loving the special effects. I'm loving the humor that's mixed with a more serious and globally staked plot. I think Jurassic World Dominion is pretty awesome, and again, I'm very happy that they haven't spoiled the whole thing in trailers. You know, it's really interesting to see how the first Jurassic World, which came out damn near 10 years ago, unfolded its trilogy in comparison to other trilogies and franchises over the last few years. I really think they've got something with this. I like that they haven't given away the entire, you know, story. So even for me, that's someone that's glued into all this stuff and is trying to decipher what exactly is going on for you guys, it's cool that I'm not incredibly like spoiled from start to finish. And I don't want to be spoiled from start to finish. I think Jurassic World Dominion's looking awesome, and I think that this is going to be, hopefully, if it's successful and not, you know, a poorly written mess or some sort of terrible product, I think it's going to be the movie that actually solidifies the Jurassic World and Jurassic Park franchise in general as the juggernaut that it is. We all kind of know it is. Normal people that don't live on the internet like freaks, they already know the Jurassic Park franchise is really big. They know that the sequel hate that goes around everywhere isn't as intense in real life. And I think that, you know, there's more people that like these movies than you would think. Not just the first film, kind of all of them. With that being said, if this movie is really good and if they knock it out of the park, I don't think Colin Trevorrow is going to stick around because he's going to want to make other movies. And I don't know, man. It looks like they've opened up the door for a lot of cool stuff. I don't want to see them really just destroy the franchise by running it into the ground with sequel after sequel, which is why I've opted for, you know, I think it's a better idea to do a TV series after this. But if this is really good, if this lives up to the trailers, you know that other people are going to want more. And I think as long as they can come up with a story that isn't terrible, I would love for capitalism to run wild and make as much Jurassic Park stuff as possible. This film series is an interesting one because they've always tried to like get their footing in a proper place before they really commit to something. The only time they didn't was Jurassic Park 3, and that was because of screenplay issues while they were filming, so it's an understandable casualty. But all in all, the first Jurassic World movie, man, there's nothing like that in cinema right now. That movie is devoid of any ridiculous bashing you over the head political message. That movie's about traditionalism, family, man versus nature, greed, ambition run amok, genetic stuff from the first Jurassic Park film. It's got really charismatic characters. It's a fun time at the movies, and dude, if they can pull this one off as well, and they'll book in their Jurassic World trilogy as this really fun Indiana Jones / Jurassic Park mashup with a ton of cool expansions from the Michael Crichton material, I'm stoked. I'm really optimistic, and I hope that they pull it off, because seeing Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm with Owen and Claire while there's dinosaurs all over the planet in this big sprawling adventure, and this feels very 1990s. It feels very fun, and it reminds me of all the stuff that I, you know, really got into Jurassic Park for. I'm excited. Yeah. That's about all I've got to say, guys. Now, that's just my own opinion, so whatever your own thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion and the second trailer happen to be, I'd love to hear all about them, man, and what you think the series could do in the future, by the way, in the comments down below. Now, before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens and InGen executives, as well as all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. You've all helped my channel immensely, and I'm incredibly grateful for all of that support. Now I'd like to thank you all for watching today's video and hope that you enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you all consider subscribing. I'll see you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.